Well, good morning. It is Thursday, 22nd of May, and looks to be a beautiful day. So, the restrictions are off at the cabin, the fire is almost contained, danger is averted, the cabin's safe, Bobby's house is safe, the church is safe, and looks like everything's on that side is okay. They're still working on the fire on the other side, but it's partially contained. Not much, but partially. So, we're going to continue to pray, and especially now for Aurora and Hoyt Lakes, that they are can be saved from the fire. Otherwise, found out the kids now. Our kids are coming up for, let's see, 3 out of the 5 kids are coming up for Memorial, and otherwise they had been planning to do something totally different because the cabin was off limits. But here it is, so now we have to get ready for that. Crazy. Anyways, things are good. I'm so just grateful to God's grace in all this. Anyways, we're now in Genesis 34. I'm going to do the whole chapter because the whole chapter is one story. And it is a story of tragedy. And tragedy hits Jacob's family. And interesting how they deal with this. And the way they deal with it is Jacob's sons now seem to pick up on their father's ability to deceive. And so they use deception to bring judgment here. It's not the way God ordained it. And just because the stories in the Bible doesn't mean God is ordaining this, said this is the way you have to deal with situations like that. That's not what's going on. The Bible's just giving us a very clear, unfiltered story of tragedy, of hurt, and how one can deal with this with vengeance and hatred and all that. There are consequences, and so this chapter pulls no punches. This is what happened. So here it is. Now Diana, the daughter of Leah, that's Jacob's daughter, was born to Jacob, went out to visit the women of the land, and when Shechem, son of Hamor the Hivite, the ruler of the area, saw her, he took her and violated her, and he raped her. His heart was drawn to Diane's daughter of Jacob, and he loved the girl. He spoke tenderly to her, and of course, it doesn't say anything how she responds. So he loved the girl tenderly, and Shem said to his father Hamor, "Get me this girl as my wife." So very controlling. I'm taking. This is what I want. He took her, and now wants her for his wife. When Jacob heard that his daughter Diana had been defiled, his sons were in the fields with his livestock, so he kept quiet about it until they came home. Then Shechem's father Hamor went out to talk with Jacob. Now Jacob's sons had come in from the fields as soon as they heard what had happened. They were filled with grief and fury. Their sister had been raped. Because Shechem done a disgraceful thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, a thing that should not be done. Again, this might seem weird in today's culture, but biblically, sexual relations is safe for marriage. And to have that outside of marriage is called fornication. To have that with another person who's married is called adultery. This is sin. It's clearly sin, defined as sin, in that it will produce death. And so this was a very death providing thing here that had happened. But Hamor said to them, "My son Shechem has in his heart set on your daughter. Please give her to him as his wife. Intermarry with us. Give us your daughters. Take our daughters for yourselves. You can settle among us. The land is open to you. Live in it, trade in it, acquire property in it." And Shechem said to Diane's father and brothers, "Let me find favor in your eyes." So the boy who raped Diane was now trying to plead a case, make a case to try to appease things here. "Make a price for the bride and the gift, and I am to bring to great as you like. I'll pay whatever you ask me, only give me the girl as my wife." Because their sister Diana had been defiled, Jacob's sons replied deceitfully as they spoke to Shechem and his father Hamor. So here's the sins of the kid's father passes on the generation to pass his generation. So again, Esau was a deceiver. He spent 20 years where he was now deceived. Now his kids, in response to this tragedy, hurt, and this violation, are going to respond to it as well with deceit. Not because God's ordaining this, but that's their natural response to this. They said to them, "We can't do such a thing. We can't give our sister to a man who's not circumcised. That would be a disgrace to us. We will give our consent to you on one condition only, that you become like us by circumcising all your males. And then we will give you our daughters, and take your daughters for ourselves. And we'll settle among you and become one people with you. But if you will not agree to be circumcised, we'll take our sister and go." Their proposal seemed good to Hamor and his son Shimon, and the young man who was most honored of all of his father's household lost no time in doing what he said, because he was delighted with Jacob's daughter. So Hamor and his son Sheresem went to the gate for their city to speak to their fellow townsmen. These men are friendly towards us. They said, "Let us live in our land and trade in it. Plenty of room for them. We can marry their daughters and they can marry ours." So it's third time they're repeating it. "But the men will consent to live with us as one people only on the condition that our males be circumcised as they themselves are. Won't their livestock, their property, and all their other animals become ours? So let us give our consent to them, and they will settle among us." So again, here they see these people were also conniving and scheming. Again, they rape, they control, they're trying to placate things, and now they realize, oh, we'll do this because we'll get all your stuff. So they're again very deceitful people. All the men went out of the city of the gate, agreed with Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male in the city was circumcised. 3 days later, while all of them were still in pain, two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Diana's brothers, took their swords and attacked the unsuspected city, killing every male. They were all, because they circumcised, they were all couldn't do anything. They put Hamor and his son Shimon to the sword and took Diane from Shechem's house and left. The sons of Jacob came upon the dead bodies and looted the city where their sister had been defiled. They seized their flocks, their herds, their donkeys, and everything else in theirs in the city, out in the fields. They carried off all their wealth and all their women and children, taking as plunder everything in the houses. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me by making me a stench to the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the people living in this land. We are few in number, and if they join forces against me and attack me, I and my household will be destroyed." But they replied, "Should we have treated our sister like a prostitute?" In other words, Dad, what are you expecting? She was violated. We had to do something. Now, so that doesn't validate what they're doing. But Jacob, now, interesting, who is the deceiver himself, but has gone through 20 years of God's wrestling with God, and now is a totally different person, sees the error of it all, and confronts his sons. There are consequences to this. So what are the lessons here? The lessons are, tragedy does hit all of us. Even those who follow God are going to go through hard stuff. Catastrophes happen. Pain happens. How do we deal with that pain is a big deal. Again, if you work in the flesh, this is what they did. They set the things up and butchered people. They conned them into hurting themselves so they could butcher them. It's not God's way. It's not God's way. And it created much tension then for Jacob. But God's hand was on Jacob, and so they were not overcome by the enemies and the people around them. But it did blemish them. Their reputation now was stained because of what Jacob's sons had done. So again, tragedy happens. There's a right way, there's a wrong way to do this. They did it the wrong way. There's consequences to those actions, and Jacob again is the eye opening here. he had changed so much that he actually could see the wrong in what they were doing. All right, so interesting that they would put this story in here. Just again to show us the consequences. Family is important. We're going to take care of our family, but how we deal with people should not be through lying, deceit. There are negative consequences to that. Always walk in integrity and righteousness. So we'll stop there. Quite the chapter. So good morning, Bobby. Good morning, Mark. Blessings to you. And again, so glad that the fire is being contained, and at least the camp house fire. So our whole family, Bobby's coming up for the weekend for Memorial. We weren't going to do that, but now they are. So we're gonna have to go up and get ready now. Anyways, let's see. So if there's any other prayer needs, go ahead and post them, and let's get on with our day here. So, Father, again, I just thank you. I thank you for these stories that are so real and hard to read, both the devastating pain that happened to Jacob's family, his daughter, and then also how the sons reacted. Again, consequences to all our actions. We do reap what we sow. Help us walk in integrity. Help us grow, Father, to be more like you, and give us wisdom and how to deal with hard situations when they hit us. Lord, help us deal in ways that really is reflective of you and not ourselves. But we understand there's a battle here. It is the battle between the spirit and the flesh. Lord, help us win our battles today. So I pray your blessing on everyone who listens here, Lord, and just be with us as we go out. And who knows what adventures you have for us, but we know you have some. Help us be aware of it. Help our eyes be open that we can partner with you to reach people today with your love. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, blessings to you, and we will catch you. We'll catch you tomorrow. So another week's almost done.